All right, welcome to the Krueger Show. Niners have drafted. The first round has come and gone. Welcome. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Embryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And we're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Check them out in Monterey. Give Anthony Catania a call. He is at 831-521-5264. All right, Damon, what'd you think? Niners go with the receiver from Florida, Ricky Pearsall, at 31. Baltimore took Nate Wiggins in front of them. Buffalo traded from Kansas City to a pick they got from Kansas City to Carolina, and Carolina finished the round with Xavier Legette from South Carolina. What do you think of the Pearsall draft pick?
Well, I mean, unexpected is the only way to properly describe it, right? I mean, his name is not attached to a single mock draft that I have read to any team in any first. And, you know, in the second round, you would see him if you bothered reading a second round, but nobody nationally had the 49ers connected to Ricky Pearsall. Nobody locally had the 49ers connected to Ricky Pearsall. You and I could measure all of our draft conversations, Larry, in days, not hours. We've been talking about the draft for days. We did not use the word or the name Ricky Pearsall once, not once. So it feels like a reach. It absolutely feels like a reach. It doesn't necessarily make sense. I don't think it addresses a major need, or if they needed a wide receiver, I don't know if this is the wide receiver they needed. And having said all of that, Larry, I don't know shit, you know, and you know, just this whole exercise proves that nobody knows where the pick could possibly come from, including the team itself. I can't tell you that they got this wrong with any authority, nor can they tell me they got this right with any authority. You know, not a lot of success out of just about all the wide receivers ever picked in the first round. And if you want to attach the phrase white boy, the success is even harder to find. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about this pick, but that doesn't mean it's not a good pick. Doesn't mean that this won't be a good player. As we've said many times about everyone in this draft, nothing proves you can play NFL football until you get to the NFL. There's no amount of college tape or success that directly translates to this kid is going to work out. So who knows? But it was a surprise. And to pretend anything other than being surprised by this draft pick is to try to lie to an audience.
First of all, he's a good football player. He had more of a second round grade. He's a polished player. He's a football player who, to me, lacks starter. He could be a starter, but he doesn't have the stature, to me, to be a number one receiver. He's more of a complimentary receiver, I think. And I just think that in the first round of the NFL draft, you're going with, I really like him. I really do like him because I did watch Florida, and this guy did make a lot of catches. But you're going with a complimentary receiver.
You liked him so much you didn't talk about him for a millisecond.
Well, I like the polish in the player. But there's all kinds of players we didn't talk about that are damn good players.
He's going to be 24.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
He's polished. He's an older player. Speaking of an older player, look at that. Look at Dan. Coach Emilio is an older player as well. And Lo Neal will join us as well. He's an older player, but NorCal Sports Network is coming on, and you got to give him You got to give him credit for being an older player. No, I'm joking. But Pearsall is polished, and he's a route runner, and he's tough, and he'll operate in the middle of the field. Now, it's more of a he's like one of those guys that you're not going to love it on draft day, but you're going to love it on game day because he's more effective than anything else. And I was hoping for more of I would have loved Xavier Leggett because I see Leggett as like an AJ Brown type, and he went
very
one
next
pick later. And Malachi Corley, I know, has gotten a lot of pub too as being a player that really could have fit as a Debo replacement if they were moving off of Debo. But the one thing about Pearsall did play in a big time conference and produced and still had really good numbers. And you're talking about, just to, argue his case for him for just 1 second, which I think, we probably should at least throw it out there, what kind of player this guy is. 6'1", 189 pounds, 4.41 speed, pretty fast, pretty tough, great hands, 42-inch vertical. The guy can really jump. That's close to the 90th percentile. Makes plays in the air. He definitely will high point balls and contest them in the air. Very quick. May lack some long speed because he only runs 4.41, but he works over the middle. He's not super dynamic or explosive. He's more of a role player type, but with great ball skills and a big catch radius. So, there's, as I said, he's very effective. Like Puka Nacua is more effective than Sexy as a pick. And I think they were trying to find their Puka Nacua.
I just think that we watched the 49ers lose a Super Bowl because they couldn't beat press man coverage. And every write-up on him says that he's going to struggle against press and man coverage.
Right.
So did the 49ers just get closer to winning a Super Bowl with picking Ricky Pearsall as opposed to solving a secondary problem, which there were players there to solve? You and I
would have loved Max Melton. A lot of people like Kool-Aid, but I'm not a Kool-Aid guy. But I thought Max Melton was a tremendous player. He's still on the board, of course.
We've talked an awful lot about, Zach Frazier because we didn't think Jackson Powers Johnson would be available. And he is. Two centers that absolutely could have helped the 49ers were right there. And I'm looking at not only, what I think you need, but I'm looking at the teams in your division around you and what it is they're doing. The Seahawks went D tackle. Byron Murphy might be the best D tackle in this draft. He's going to be playing right over your center who you did not draft or improve upon. You have not improved upon this offensive line. The Rams take Florida State defensive end Jared Verse. That's going to be coming right over the tackle that you did not draft in this draft. The Cardinals had the best first round maybe in football. The Cardinals had walk away with Marvin Harrison Jr., who a lot of people say might be pound for pound the best prospect to be a pro in this draft, followed up by Darius Robinson, the edge out of Mizzou, who a lot of people were making googly eyes at because they thought the 49ers might take him. And, you just got every team in your division got beefier. The Dallas Cowboys, they got Tyler Guyton. The Packers, who you're going to be playing, and maybe in a playoff game, got Jordan Morgan.
I thought that was a terrible pick.
Yeah, I didn't really like that pick either, but the Bucs get Graham Barton, out of Duke. That might be a team you see in the postseason. Everybody got better on the trenches. The 49ers still have offensive line problems, secondary.
What offensive lineman should they have taken?
And they should have taken Zach Frazier, I think. I think they should have taken
I agree, Frazier. But as far as tackle, there wasn't a tackle there. I'm glad they didn't reach for a tackle. That wouldn't have been the right move.
6 tackles in the first 20 picks. And this was a
quarterbacks in the top 12. How about that?
6 quarterbacks in the top 12. Dan, not since 83, right? Not since the greatest quarterback draft of all time. The first defensive player on the board didn't come off until 15 when it was Latu to the Colts. There's never been a moment in the NFL where 14 offensive players were selected in a row, not to start a draft, not in the middle of the first round, not in the middle of any round. Nowhere has there ever been 14 offensive players selected in a row. And that's how this draft started. And I guess that's a testament to modern football right now, that all the rules are bent to make your offense go and sing. And again, that brings us back to Ricky Pearsall. Maybe he's going to be the single best wide receiver the 49ers have ever had, not named Jerry something. We'll find out. But it's a surprising pick on its surface and in the moment in which it happened. My jaw nearly hit the goddamn floor.
Danny, what'd you think?
Well, I was surprised at the pick, but the more I looked into it, the more I think about it, I think he's a route runner that gets open. That's the kind of offense Kyle runs. Move the chains, keep moving the ball. Now I think what they're doing, I wouldn't surprise me to see Ayuk dealt. Not Ayuk, excuse me, Debo. I think they're going to hang on to Ayuk. They want route runners. Debo does not get separation. And I'm thinking it's kind of weird how Buffalo traded back twice out of the first round and is now sitting there with the first pick of the second round. Maybe that's a deal the Niners and Bills have in place. Debo goes just straight swap for the first pick of the second round. Josh Allen can use a weapon like Debo, not just because he doesn't replace Diggs as a receiver, but he's kind of that gadget guy. Buffalo needs something a little bit different. And I'm thinking Niners maybe then go after maybe one of the corners, or maybe DeJean, who can play both corner and safety. They're really kind of lacking at free safety right now, the Niners. And DeJean can kind of play both corner and safety. Here's a scouting report. One AFC scout said this about Pearsall. I don't know how fast he is, but he gets open and he's got great hands. Just needs more accurate quarterback. Niners have an accurate quarterback. I think Kyle is looking to have route runners that are open all the time. And now if you got Pearsall and Ayuk and Jennings, if Debo's gone and Kittle, pick your poison because somebody's going to be open. And of course, McCaffrey.
With all due respect, I don't think Debo's going anywhere. He would carry a dead cap number of $42.7 million if they were to let him go before the 2025 year. So I don't think Debo's about to be dealt for shit.
Well, didn't they promise Debo that they weren't going to trade him before, during, or after this year's draft? So I don't know about that.
But they also had Diana Rossini today, and I even went with a little breaking news on this and put up a short that Debo was included in talks trying to move into the top 10. So that's a serious reversal of position that they took publicly on Debo. But to me, the math on Debo just doesn't work. I don't think you're getting rid of a guy who carries a $42.7 million dead cap hit. I just don't see the 49ers doing business.
That might be a difficult thing to move him, but I do think the idea of, maybe it's next year when it's not a big cap hit, and maybe they're just getting Pearsall now because, I think Kyle has watched enough of the Rams offense, guys like Kupp and Puka get open. Now, Puka's more of the physical receiver. Pearsall's not that. But he's kind of more fits into the line of Kupp. He's got to learn, obviously, to separate, get off the line. But he does have great quickness, and his cone time was one of the best in all of the draft. The guy has agility. He can leap. He's got a 42-inch vertical. He's not afraid to go in the middle, get the ball.
How many balls did he catch this year? Do you have his stats?
665, I think, with Florida.
For how many touchdowns?
65 for 965, 4 touchdowns in his senior year last year at Florida, 2 years ago. 33 catches, 661 yards, 5 touchdowns. So he was used a little bit more in his senior year. He played 5 years of college football, 3 at Arizona State and then 2 at Florida. 159 career catches collegiately, better than 2,400 yards and 14 touchdowns, which, is not a bad college career. It isn't. Look, he might be a very good player, but the pick feels like a reach based on all the information that's been in the public domain for the last month. And the fact that, it feels like this is, he might be the right player, but it feels like he absolutely would have been the right player to trade back, get out of that first round, pick up.
That would have been a better way to do it,
and pick him up in the top 3-4 picks of the next round. Because
I think they could have done that because he was probably projected to go in the top 50, somewhere between 40 and 50 in the draft, and so it was a reach to pick him with one. I agree, Damon. I think you could have got more capital by going back 4 or 5 picks. Someone else moves up into that one slot for the 5 years, control versus 4 with a second round pick. I think they could have made more use of it. I thought they were going either a corner or maybe Adon Mitchell. I was really kind of shocked that they didn't actually trade up, because when the Chiefs traded up, I was sitting there with my wife and I said, "Oh, it's Worthy. They're replacing Tyreek Hill. That's what the Chiefs are doing." And the Chiefs have Hollywood Brown, they have Marquise Brown, and now they got Worthy. So the question is, do the Niners not going after a speed wide receiver, do they think that Danny Gray has anything left, or is this,
Well, it's not about Danny. None of this is about Danny Gray. He's just he'll be in camp this summer in his third year, trying to make the team, probably his last go around. They're not making moves and draft picks based on Danny Gray at this point. But I think it's just that if you look at Xavier Worthy, and I watched his film, he makes most of his plays are go patterns down the sideline. That's not typically the routes that are featured in this 49er offense. Usually the routes are, crossing patterns, and there's a lot of stuff in the short and intermediate area. So a guy like Pearsall, who's more of a route runner, to me, it was like Pearsall versus Ladd McConkey, Pearsall versus A.D. Mitchell. I heard some people say that A.D. Mitchell can be difficult to coach. I don't know that, but I heard that. As far as McConkey, I think is, ran in the 4.3s, but I kind of wonder about the durability. Pearsall definitely, though, is in that same vein as McConkey. Elite route runner, really, really good at setting up receivers. Setting up corners. I just don't love taking a receiver who, in the first round, who is never going to be your first, your number one receiver. This guy's more of just a complimentary type piece than he is I view Pearsall as a complimentary piece.
Look at it this way. Will he be on the field for 200 snaps in his rookie year?
I don't know how many snaps he'll be on this field for, because this team's got Debo. First of all, they don't go, it's a 2-back offense, and they've got 3 receivers in front of him on the depth chart. So how much did Ronnie Bell play this year? How much did Chris Conley play this year? I mean, this guy's going to play more, and I think he'll be ready to contribute. But I don't think he's ever going to be their number one receiver. And that's hard to say about a number one draft choice wide receiver, right? You draft a receiver in the first round. At some point, you're hoping that guy can be your number one receiver. This guy's more of a complimentary. This is an effective complementary slot receiver.
There were 2 interior linemen that I think you can project to have 8 to 12-year NFL careers based on health. The center from Oregon and the center from West Virginia, both were right there for the 49ers to be, that guy's going to be on the field for every single snap this season. All of them. Ricky Pearsall, again, will he see 250 snaps in his rookie year? It's a legit question. Again, it's hard to hate the pick, because you're just, I'm unfamiliar. The guy's got a hell of a highlight reel. He's got good hands. He makes good catches. But again, they got beat with sticky coverage in the Super Bowl because they couldn't get a wide receiver to separate. It feels like the wide receiver that he separated. They didn't block it up front, right? That's why there was 9 plays in the Super Bowl where the Chiefs got a running start at Brock Purdy. 9. They need to do a better job on the offensive line. But they obviously didn't feel the need to draft a center, and the tackles weren't there, and the guards weren't worth it. Look, we know that the Chiefs beat the Niners in the Super Bowl. They might have beat him in this draft too. Xavier Worthy might have been the guy that they really wanted. The Chiefs jumping up in front of him, I think, hurt him. I thought Arizona taking Darius Robinson late was probably a groaning moment in the Niners war room. Maybe even Nate Wiggins to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, right in front of him.
Yeah, right in front of him. That could have been the pick. I thought Cooper DeJean at that moment.
He was there. They obviously did not want Cooper DeJean.
That's why I'm thinking that they may be looking at moving a receiver. I know you mentioned the cap hit. Is there a way that isn't it after June something the cap hit drops or something?
I believe if the team that takes on Debo takes on $40 million over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So
So I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going to move off of Ayuk. I think they
Well,
want to make Ayuk the number one. But I would say the only reason I brought up Worthy and Gray is they drafted Danny Gray to be their deep threat, and
right.
then they didn't go after Worthy, move up for him when they thought they had to be thinking Kansas City was going to move that. That's what Kansas City does, is gets speed receivers, and they didn't have that last year. So I'm thinking, do they have a thought of maybe that Danny Gray can be that speed receiver because they drafted him to
Well,
be
I'm
the
sure
deep
there's
threat?
probably somebody that hopes that. And there's also other guys on day 3 of this draft, got Tyler Harrell and several others that run really, really fast. And if they want to take another shot, I could see them, Danny Gray has just not been able to stay healthy.
Yeah.
He hasn't been able. I mean, think about it. We all saw that Trey Lance Green Bay preseason game in year 1 when he went up top to Danny Gray, and we all thought, "Oh my gosh, we're going to be watching this for the next decade," only to find out that was the only example of that we were ever going to see. We never saw it again. But I like Danny Gray's talent, and I saw him at SMU. He was not a guy that couldn't take a hit, but for whatever reason, he has not been able to stay healthy. He knows this is his make or break training camp for sure. So,
I mean, don't you think something's up though with the fact they draft this possession type receiver, great route runner, and then they just re-signed Trent Taylor, who's kind of that slot guy? And what's the? I mean, Taylor.
I think the mindset is that if you have Brock Purdy as a quarterback, you can't have enough good weapons in the middle of the field with great ball skills, and that's what Ricky Pearsall is. He's a guy who can make plays in the middle of the field. He's really, really quick in and out of his breaks. He'll give you double moves. He's very polished. He's got great hands, big catch radius, and he'll make catches. He's going to be a chain mover. He's going to be a piece that helps you, stay on the field. When everybody and their brother knows you need to get 4 yards, you're going to be able to drop back and throw a ball with anticipation on a 5 or 6 yard route that this guy's going to run. And once Brock and him are on the same page, it could be borderline unstoppable, but there's something kind of low end about it as well.
He's not on the field because he's in Shanahan's doghouse where every receiver, finds himself at one point during his rookie year. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I think this guy playing 5 years of college is going to be ready to step in because he is more athletic than Cooper Kupp. This guy can jump. He's got a 42.
Don't compare him to Cooper Kupp.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying he's more athletic.
You're saying he's more athletic.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I haven't seen.
I mean, he was a very productive receiver at Florida as well. I mean, not like this guy wasn't productive. He was.
If you look at the highlight, the guy he's got 4.41 speed. He's got great hands, and he can leap, and he goes after 50-50 balls. So I think that's kind of the Niners have lacked that. Debo is not that type of receiver. Debo is more of a slasher on the slants, run after the catch. I think the Niners got, like you said, Larry, with Brock being an accurate quarterback, they lost out a lot on a lot of times last year where they could not pick up the key first down on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, because Debo couldn't get separation.
I just think that the only way this pick is going to look good or make a lot of sense is when we see what happens on day 2 and 3. We got to see how this pick is linked to the choices that we're about to see. If Ayuk really is still on the block and about to be traded, maybe that would make a little bit more sense here. Although I don't want that to happen now. Like, I feel that you need Brandon Ayuk bad. So I do hope that they figure out a way to get him back. And I know that there's a lot of beef both on the offensive and defensive line still in this draft. Let's see how it all fits together. But the pick at 31, just on the surface, Ricky Pearsall. Okay.
Well, it's funny. Okay. There was this talk that, Silver wrote the article the other day, and he listed 5 or 6 receivers that they, had interest in, and Pearsall was on the list. So it shouldn't be that much of a shock. I mean, I'll say this: this is not AJ Jenkins. Okay, this is not. Hey, we haven't heard of this guy. Oh my God, this guy stinks. This guy can't play.
Yeah.
AJ Jenkins had a great 40 time, but he had a nothing resume as a receiver.
He never
This
stood
guy's
out
got
in a
a
single
tremendous
game he ever played at
resume.
Illinois. Not one. One. So.
And this guy transferred and was good at two schools and is definitely more of a refined guy who's ready to step in and make. This is a now play. This is a now play. This is prioritizing a guy that you think can help you now over somebody who's going to be a real player in 3 years. So, in that regard, I like it because they are inside their Super Bowl window and they added a polished receiver who I think can help make plays right away. And I think there's a chance that that our conversation and our pessimism is going to look really bad in a few years, because between Brock Purdy's accuracy and this guy's route running in the middle of the field, these guys are kind of made for each other. So this could be a very productive player. But
Hey,
I don't see him. To me, it seemed a little low end for 31 overall.
It's a surprising pick based on, true marriage of raw athletic talent and need in other positions. So that's why it's a surprise. Ricky Pearsall might be great at this.
Yeah. He definitely is a good receiver.
Brock Purdy might have crazy kismet and it works out great. And by week 8, we're talking about how wrong we were on that night where they drafted Ricky Pearsall.
I'm worried about Pearsall's durability. You say, give me your concerns. I think he gets enough separation. I think he's got good enough hands. I think he's a good enough athlete. I'm worried about durability. How durable is a guy who with a smallish frame going to be, who works across the middle and takes some monster hits? How long is this guy going to last before he breaks?
Lance Zierlein's write-up of Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dependable slot target with good size, soft hands. He'll need to prove himself that he's got the ability to free himself against NFL man coverage. Again, the number one problem Niners receivers had in the Super Bowl. Pearsall might get the stereotypical crafty route runner, which is the really nice way to say white kid, but it does, it suits him. He is a good route runner. He appears to play with an idea of how to manipulate certain coverage looks and leverages. He plays with attention to detail and a consistent route tempo to create windows, but he lacks ideal foot quickness to beat press and maintain separation. While the hands are reliable, he's not physical enough to tilt contested catches in his favor and might have a ceiling of quality backup with punt return value. Now, Lance Zierlein is not the end-all, be-all analysis of predicting futures, but that doesn't necessarily sound like the bio you want attached.
It's not Jerry Rice.
It's not the bio you want attached to the player that was supposed to solve the problem of win the Super Bowl right fucking now. That's the job. Anything that takes the 49ers off the target of winning the 2024 Super Bowl, to me, feels like it was a misplaced decision.
Okay, but on one hand, you want to win next year's Super Bowl. I get that. On one hand, this is a guy, as far as receivers go, this is a guy that I think is ready to contribute right now compared to most of the receiver class. Like if we went through the entire list of receivers, most of those guys need a year or so. And most receivers don't contribute. I would have this guy on the list and I would have had him on the list before the Niners picked him, of the 5 or 6 most ready to play wide receivers. So if your argument is all about, hey, 2025, or this upcoming season, 2020, I guess, what is this, the 2024 season? It's, this guy, I think potentially can help them sooner than most of the other receivers. I think there's a polish to this guy's game where he can step in and contribute right away. So on that regard, you are getting help immediately. But my question is upside long term. You're investing a first round draft choice in a guy who, is a complementary piece.
I don't think he's going to beat out wide receiver Juwan Jennings in this depth chart right now. I don't know how
He's
Pearsall.
the same kind of a piece, though. They're both kind of just, keep the chains moving.
Okay,
third down guys. This guy might be a little bit more dynamic than Juwan. Juwan, those bigger and more physical than this guy.
If they are similar, Juwan Jennings was such an afterthought offensively to the 49ers in every game he played last year that he only had 19 catches. If Ricky Pearsall only has 19 catches, unless they're all in the Super Bowl for touchdowns, what did you do?
I think he's going to be a high reception guy. I just don't know.
I don't know if he'll be on the field enough to be a high reception anything. Again,
well, he's got the ball skills to be a high reception guy. I mean, if you told me this guy was going to catch 40 or 50 balls, I would not be like, no way, no how. I think there's a chance this guy could have decent volume because of his ball skills and his catch radius and the accuracy of Purdy. I think he's going to be a productive player. I just don't know that you're ever going to sit there and go, I want to wear that jersey. You know what I mean?
Did you guys hear Belichick's, or I mean, not Belichick, but Nick Saban during the pick?
No, what did he say? I didn't have whatever channel he was on. And what did he say, Dan?
He was on McAfee. He was on McAfee, and he called it. He said Pearsall before they pick, and he says, if you're going to play in Shanahan's offense, you better be able to block. And he says Pearsall is going to be the guy. So it's kind of interesting.
No block, no block, no rock.
There you go. If we had to talk about the element of Bill Belichick's entire, what do you say, Bill Belichick?
No. Nick Saban.
Oh, okay.
Nick Saban called it.
Well, look, I mean, he coached against him. And I hope Nick Saban's right. I hope he's right about absolutely everything that he says. It's a surprising pick, though. And I can't pretend it's anything other than a surprising pick. And
I guess it was. I guess it was
better when we know based on what they do tomorrow.
I guess it was Saban. Somebody said Saban in the chat. Yeah.
Well, did you hear it or did you read about it?
I saw it, but I was half listening to it and watching but I'll have to look it up again. I'm pretty sure it was.
Thanks for that excellent eyewitness account, Dave.
Yeah. let me look it up again.
I mean, there is some nice things to like about. I mean, I can show you some amazing players.
You're working hard to sell this pick right now. You are. You're.
No, I understand why the 49ers like this player. But to me, it was a second round pick.
Yes,
not
a
first round pick.
It was Belichick.
All right. Well,
to me, I didn't understand it in the first round.
Belichick, let me just say the one definite, absolute blind spot in Bill Belichick's career was evaluating wide receivers.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about this, the one thing about any receiver, anybody the Niners are going to draft, are they going to get on the field this year? And, I don't know. I kind of like this pick if they're keeping Ayuk and Debo in the group, and this is kind of an add-on to what they have. But if they're going to move Ayuk and ask Ricky Pearsall to step in there, I really don't like the move. You know what I'm saying? If this is a precursor to a Ayuk trade and Pearsall is going to be their replacement for Ayuk, then no, don't like it. But if Ayuk's there and Debo's there and Jennings is there and you're looking to add a receiver that can help you in the middle of the field, maybe establish a real nice rapport with Purdy, yeah, I think this guy could be quietly incredibly effective because Purdy loves the middle of the field, and this guy operates in the middle of the field and has great footwork and ball skills and jumping ability, and he's made a bunch of plays at Florida. It's not like this guy wasn't productive. He was a productive player. So,
look, I
want more dynamic. I want somebody who's going to be maybe my number one receiver in a year, and I don't see that with this guy.
Only two receivers had more than 500 snaps. On-field snaps for the 49ers. Brandon Ayuk, 923 snaps. Debo Samuel, 768 snaps. then it's Juwan Jennings for 429 snaps. Now, I'll be surprised if Ricky Pearsall leaps in front of Juwan Jennings to the point where Ricky Pearsall in his rookie year is used more in this offense than Juwan Jennings was last year. And again, Juwan Jennings is even out there for 430 snaps. So I don't know how much they're going to be able to use this player based on how they play, unless, like you said, Larry, this is a precursor to a trade of Brandon Ayuk, which doesn't make me like the pick more.
Here's Steve Smith, who's pretty outspoken.
Love Steve Smith.
Calling him Ricky Pearsall and call him what his real name is. Slick Rick is what they call him. Great vision, stands out. He knows exactly where he needs to be. Played with 3 different quarterbacks with 3 different styles of play. Look at this. Oh, I'm about to drive on him. Got him. Whoopsies. Look at this quarterback. Every indication he might be playing for the other team. Look at this play. Runs a little fake screen. How do you think this is going to end up? Wow! Look at him pop up. Nice strong headache ball. Ooh. The one had that stanky leg. He got all the way down to the floor. Against South Carolina. My notes. Wow. That's all I'm going to say. Over the shoulder. Look at that. He's the go-to guy. His ability to adjust will be required in the services in the National Football League. Stop.
What do you think?
I love a good highlight tape. Everybody has one.
Little Steve Smith right there. All right, let's read a couple supers here, Damon. Fire away. I'll put them up there. Go ahead.
Right. By the way, those who are accusing Larry of being high, he's not high, but he's having eye trouble. So I'm reading the chats. That's what we're doing here. He's got.
You want to borrow some readers, Larry?
He got some muddy eye.
Exactly. My prescription, and I'm getting my contacts changed out. So if Damon could help out, that would help.
Martini Mi Kawakigol, whatever that name is. They can trade Debo in their second for an early second pick for an offensive lineman tomorrow. I don't really think so. I don't think that Debo Samuel is a real trade candidate here based on the fact that you destroy your own cap the minute that you trade him. This is Kyle's soft eraser for Debo. He compliments Brandon Ayuk.
Okay. There's a guy who thinks that Debo's on the move.
Batman 29 says, we would have been there. Would he have been there at their second round pick? I mean, there is an argument to be made that, yeah, he could have been there at 63.
I think he would have been there in the mid 50s, but it's 50-50 whether he'd be there. I don't think it's a lock that he would have been there.
Danny Kang says worst news of the night is Mitchell to the Eagles.
Yeah, Quinyon Mitchell going to the Eagles really hurts because what a great player he is, and they get another great player in the secondary.
James Foster said bet Harbaugh would give us a 6th for Ronnie Bell.
Give him a call.
Maybe.
Him a call. You might,
maybe come get your Michigan boy.
Seriously, Harbaugh loves Michigan.
Miguel Rodriguez, $5. Thank you, Miguel. Jerry Rice didn't have breakaway speed, but good hands. And what did he do? Well, yeah, but I would say that Jerry Rice is more of an outlier than a standard that everyone is going to reach. I mean, come on. That's like saying, hey, that Lamborghini over there goes pretty fast. Maybe this car can go fast too. Come on, stop it. Don't compare anyone to Jerry Rice, not even his own kid.
He's right.
The Sherman 500 says, how about this player, guard Christian Haynes from UConn? Would help the line block and have more time to get open and throw.
Love him. Got into a brawl in I think with Charles Turner in the one-on-ones in Mobile. Strong, tough, really, really good player. I love the kid from UConn. Love him. We got another one here.
He's taking Debo's spot, even if Debo stays. Stamina. Marcus Mason. Thank you, Marcus. Hey, look, if he can stay out there, if he can stay healthy, he will 100%. Be an important player. Availability is the best ability. But let's see. I mean, people are saying, Damon, you hate the pick. You hate the pick. I don't hate the pick. I just didn't expect it at all. And then when you read about what he's good at, you say, well, you kind of got Juwan Jennings, who sounds just like that. And you hardly use him. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
He's a dependable, tough, little receiver who works the middle of the field, makes some catches, and will make contested catches and is effective. He's an effective player. He's a chain moving, effective, middle of the field, short and intermediate player. But
Well,
he's not
what did,
dynamic. He's not. I mean, I was talking about Brian Thomas and some of these guys. Those are more dynamic players. This guy is the continuity piece. This is the guy that makes the 3rd and 5 catch when everybody knows you gotta get a completion. I mean, you'll love this guy on game day because like Ronnie Bell and some of the ball skills.
Aren't you going to Kittle? Aren't you going to Christian McCaffrey?
I'm just saying, if
you're looking for the rook on 3rd and 5 on a big 3rd and 5, I don't know. Maybe
you're looking for anybody who's got awesome ball skills, and this guy does.
Well, I'm looking for Brock to not be on his back either.
Yeah,
and
but I mean, it's also one pick. You got. I wouldn't have taken. I liked Frazier there, so I'm with you. They should have gone with Zach Frazier. I thought Frazier was a 10-year starter as a center, and I still believe that. But he hasn't gone yet, and they went with a receiver. I understand why they went with this receiver because he's kind of like McConkey in a lot of ways. I thought maybe they would go McConkey.
Well, here's the thing, though, Larry.
Pearsall, I think, is in that same kind of category.
You only saw it after the fact. Nothing in your mind made a connection between the 49ers and Ricky Pearsall until the pick came up. I've talked to you in a week. I mean, look.
No, that's not true. I've talked to tons of people, and I've mentioned Ricky Pearsall in streams over the last month.
Okay, well, we do 3 streams a week at least. And
he wasn't my favorite receiver. I usually talk about my favorite receivers. He's not my favorite receiver, but I have talked about him on other streams, and I did know. It's not like I didn't know who he was or haven't seen him. I just thought that he was more like a round 2 guy or maybe round 3 guy. I knew he was a good route runner. I knew he was effective. As far as he's more effective than fun. He's not a 4-3 guy. He's not a burner, but if you look at his highlight reel, he's made some amazing plays, and not just amazing plays catching the ball, some amazing plays where he's reverse field and cut across the field. Just thought of him when I saw the 4.41 and the frame as a guy who was a little bit of a durability issue and, a nice playmaker, but more of a round 2 or round 3 guy. So I am surprised he went in the first round.
Well, I think he was probably projected as a round 2, but the Niners don't pick again till what, 62, 63, right in there.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows? I don't know if he was going to be there or not. I will say this. I mean, there were 3 or 4 players in the draft who were burners, like true burners. And then there's also 3 or 4 guys in the draft who are true crafty route runners with hands. And, and this guy's one of those guys. He's one of those crafty route runners. He's not that home run hitter, but he's definitely a chain mover. So who does that? To me, if there's a guy that he would replace, it would be Jawan. But Jawan's not going anywhere. So, as I said, I like him as a complementary piece to what they have, but I don't like him as a replacement for Ayuk at all.
Look, Mike Silver is talking about the likelihood that it's the Debo being traded more than Ayuk.
Really? He's saying that when? On Twitter right now?
Yeah, he was saying it earlier.
Look, I just think for a team that only plays 2 wide receivers, they just drafted their 4th wide receiver.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I definitely think he's a complimentary guy. He's not a number 1 guy. He doesn't have the kind of stature to be a number 1 guy as far as physical stature and durability. Just doesn't.
Isn't he about similar to Kupp size? Maybe a little bigger. Kupp is what?
Yeah, he's 6'1". I mean,
190 roughly, right?
Yeah, he's 6'1", about 190. And he runs 4.41. What makes him special are his hands. He's quick with great hands. 42-inch vert, so he can really jump. And he lacks some long speed. He's awesome over the middle of the field, but he lacks that dynamic explosiveness. He's
But he
more of a
gets
role.
open. But he gets
He's
open.
got awesome ball skills, but he's a role player. He's a role
Yeah.
player receiver. That's what he is.
He's 6'1", 190 pounds, average NFL wide receiver speed. He's a 4.4 guy. He's got big hands, 9.25 inch hands.
I'm not saying he's Cup, but if you look at Cup coming out of the draft, he was nothing.
He's in that. He's in that.
Cup was what, a 5th round?
He's in
pick?
that category. He's in that category of he gets by on great ball skills, great hands, great route running. You know what I mean? That's what he gets by on. He's not getting by. He's not going to blow you off the line. That's why I kind of wondered about him at the next level as far as will he get separation. But, 4.41 is not slow. 4.41 is relatively fast.
That's NFL speed. It's just all it is. It's just
it's two ticks away from 4.39. 4.3 speed is not borderline. If you run 4.49, that's NFL speed. And look, this guy ran 4.41.
Yeah.
And 4.41 means he's got pretty good speed.
Stop comparing this guy to fucking Cooper Kupp.
Oh, I'm not saying he's
Cooper Kupp ran 4.62.
But Kupp is not as athletic and was drafted. What round was Cooper? 5th, 4th, 5th? I can't remember.
I don't even know. But when Cooper Kupp came out of college, like he was the leading receiver in all of college. He was the best receiver of every single wide receiver. He had better stats than all of them in all of college.
But at Eastern Washington,
right?
Sure,
not Florida or ASU.
Yeah, so I mean that's the thing. He's coming out of Eastern Washington, and he ran 4.62, and he emerged as this incredible, unstoppable force. But all I'm saying is, what makes Cooper Kupp? It's not the 40 time.
Okay, he was the 3rd round. He was a 3rd round pick, the 69th overall in the 2017 draft. So, I mean, I
like this player. I just don't think he's ever going to be a true number 1 receiver. He's not an outside X receiver who, he's a complementary piece. He's, it's a nice complementary piece that will help you stay on the field offensively. You'll be glad that you have him as Brock's rolling around looking for a receiver because this guy's got a big radius and he's going to hold on. He's going to make a number of plays with Brock. But he doesn't have the size or the stature to really be a true number 1, and you're taking him in the 1st round. So, he's a little, to me, it's a little underwhelming. It's a little low end. It's a little low end for a 1st round pick. But I will say this.
Overwhelming.
The production potentially could be very, very good.
I think it's unexpected. It's underwhelming. Look, he might be really good. I don't even know if he's going to get an opportunity to be really good. Again, he's the 4th receiver on a team that doesn't usually play more than 2.
Well, and we don't know. We don't know what he is because we don't know if there's another move coming. There was a report, by the way, right in the middle of the draft or right before the draft, that the Patriots were making a big play for Ayuk. I don't know that it was obviously not going to include the 2nd pick, but the Patriots do have like 4 picks inside the top 37. And that will be interesting tomorrow to see if is the Ayuk, is there any reports are you seeing any reports coming down to Santa Clara as far as Lynch or Shanahan statements on, Ayuk is would they officially make the?
Yeah, they said that they're trading him for a kicker tomorrow.
Did they make any assurances that he's going to be on the team? Because a lot of people thought, hey, if it didn't happen tonight, that it wouldn't happen. But other people feel like it could still happen as in round 2. Any word coming out of Santa Clara on that front?
No, I watched a little bit of the Lombardi footage of the press conference about the pick, and I don't know. Kyle looked a little pissed. I got to be honest with you. Kyle didn't look like he was bonkers about it. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah. It was a very muted. The press conference was delivered with about as much as excitement as the news was received with. So,
couple more supers here. We got this one.
Exclaimer. In for $2. Thank you very much.
And then we've got this one as well.
Pearsall is 24. Doubtful a second contract, seems like a high floor, mediocre ceiling. Rookie wide receivers barely make an impact. Even Brandon Ayuk didn't even get going until year 3. Space Cowboy. Again, I think it's all kind of true. I would have felt, by the way, I would have sort of felt this way about any wide receiver. I didn't think that wide receiver in round 1 was the right direction for this team to be heading in. I don't care who it was. I don't care if it was Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well, to me, it was Brian Thomas. If Brian Thomas had fallen to them, then that was the only receiver I thought was really viable in round 1. Now, Xavier Legette, to me, is really interesting because he is 230 and runs in the 4.3s. But, I mean, there's refinement that's going to be needed there. He's not ready to necessarily step in and contribute right away, in my opinion. He may take him a little time. So, I mean, I didn't see the receiver that made sense right there. I was thinking offensive line, center, defensive tackle, maybe corner. But obviously they didn't love Kool-Aid. There was, they had their chance at Kool-Aid McKinstry, and they looked at him and they didn't show interest there.
Look, the last thing Niners fans need is a player named Kool-Aid who would have been relentlessly marketed to us in terrible ways all year. So I think we all dodged a bullet there. You know how many times you would have heard, oh, yeah, like every single time he made a tackle, they would have probably played the freaking Kool-Aid man crashing through a fucking wall or something.
He's also coming off an injury. He ran in the 4.6s. I don't know. That one didn't make sense.
I'm surprised that the pick is a wide receiver. I don't want to pick on Ricky Pearsall. I don't want to pick on him, but I'm surprised the pick is a receiver, knowing the needs in the secondary, across the offensive line. And again, run on tackle. So you're not looking tackle. Well, you need guard center. And that's there. And I'm surprised that they didn't go in that direction. I'm also surprised that they didn't fall back into their old habits and grab a big old D tackle.
I know. Johnny Newton was there. Right, Michael Hall was there. Ruka was there. We got another one here, Damon. Jerry.
Guy Haberman. Gary Schetzel says that Guy Haberman called Ricky the other day. Love all ya. Thank you very much. Go Guy Haberman. Go Guy.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Can we not act like the 49ers lost the Super Bowl on one or two obvious plays? Imagine if the 49ers actually had someone who could get open in the Super Bowl. Bay Area. Dropping the 5 bones on us.
Look at that. There's no doubt that McDuffie and Snead won against Ayuk and Debo, and Kittle was pretty much unheard of. So they maybe they do need some more weapons. I'll say this: there's good receivers in all 3 days of the draft. That's the other reason I didn't love it, is that I think there's some receivers that are going to be available on day 3.
Now,
pretty damn good.
This is something here that I've heard, associated with Pearsall, is that he has been the subject of bad quarterback play, and, he'll pop at the next level. He'll have an even better, maybe, year with the pros than he did a year with a struggling quarterback at Florida. Florida was bad this year. Ricky Pearsall underrated, according to Jeb. So,
well, that was kind of Steve Smith's evaluation, saying the quarterback looked like he was playing for the other team, trying to get you guys hurt.
We got another one there. Let's just get through these supers and then we'll jump back in here. What does that one say, Damon? J and B.
Yeah, there was Florida was trash this year. Pearsall underrated. Just read that one.
We got this one.
Selling routes is how Kyle's gets guys open. Help Brandon Ayuk. So sell those routes. Marcus Mason, thank you very much. Terrible, underwhelming pick. This guy sucks. Tobin Ernest.
I think he's saying this sucks, guys.
This sucks, guys. Oh, yeah, sorry. Here's the thing. He might be really good, but it feels like it sort of came out of nowhere, and it's a position. This team still needs more cake than it needs sprinkles, and it feels like they went in their first-round pick and got some sprinkles.
Well,
it does seem complimentary. It's like, hey, man, I just got a new $300 doormat. Yeah, but you have no windows on your house. You know what I mean? It's like, it seems like a nice little accessory piece. A slot receiver with sticky hands. But you know what? I don't want to bag it too much, because I do know that this player knows how to play, and I do know that Brock Purdy is likely to hook up with this player a lot. So this could be a very, very productive football player. So I don't want to rip him too much, because then, the reality is I don't love it, but this guy's more effective than anything. But he is effective, and he's going to be effective. But I just think there's higher end guys.
What's interesting to me is that he played 5 years in college, and we know it took Ayuk 2 years kind of to really get into Kyle's system. Maybe this guy, Kyle, feels like, hey, he's already ready to go. He just needs to learn the offense, and maybe he steps up in early on. I mean, he is what'd you say he was, Damon? 25 already, 24?
He'll be 24. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty old for a guy coming out of college, but it's,
don't go overboard on that, because a lot of college players over the last couple of years have been granted a 6 year of eligibility because
but
of
I mean,
COVID.
it's a good thing.
There's a lot of older players because of COVID.
Right.
Really.
No, I'm just saying it's a good thing that guys at that age generally are a little ahead of the other guys coming out of because they played for so long. It's the same thing we look
but
at.
The league doesn't like it. The league looks at it as a negative.
Yeah. Same thing.
You'd rather have like a Michael Hall who is 20 and he's not going to be 21 till August.
Yeah.
So they are looking at that, and they usually penalize guys who are a little bit older. But if you're inside your Super Bowl window and you're looking for a receiver who can contribute right away, maybe older is better.
Well, we saw it with Trace Jackson Davis with the Warriors, somebody who had 4 years of college coming out and was ready to play the NBA game day one.
Right. But he was also, one of the single greatest producers in the history of Indiana basketball, which goes back, all the way to the Old Testament. So you're in that group. You have separated yourself. We can talk about the great players in the history of the University of Florida. I don't know if Ricky Pearsall's name comes up even at the alumni party.
Yeah. I mean, I we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But what was your guys' thought when Goodell came up to the podium? What name were you expecting to hear?
Well,
I was expecting Zach Frazier.
Yeah, I was hoping for Zach Frazier. I was fearing Roger Rosengarten. That's what I was fearing. I was fearing they were going to go kind of low end tackle just to appease the fans who are yelling O-line, O-line. But I actually kind of like guys who are, the O tackle group in like a round or two. So I'm kind of glad they didn't reach for the offensive lineman. I mean, really in this draft, there was two things I was fearing. I was fearing the Niners would reach for the O-line, the O-lineman who's super low end. Instead, Green Bay did that with Jordan Morgan. And I was really fearful of that. The other thing I was fearful is, you guys know how I feel about Michael Penix. I was fearful that Penix would wind up in Seattle or with the Rams in the division, because I think Penix is a star player, and those teams, the last thing I want to see is anybody in their division get a star quarterback. And instead, Atlanta reached for him, and I think it will work out nicely. But, I was worried about that.
By the way, the Raiders going after Brock Bowers after drafting, after drafting Mayer last year.
Well, I don't know if they want to trade Michael Mayer. I gladly would take him off their hands, because I think Mayer is going to be really good. But Mayer had a pretty mediocre year. Yeah. Let's be honest. And they, maybe they're thinking double tight end there.
Yeah.
And maybe, Bowers is real value. I mean, Bowers is a star.
Well, and look, they missed out on the run of quarterbacks that I think that they were definitely hoping for. It just all went before him. And Atlanta did more to screw over the Raiders by taking Michael Penix. And to me, that's the only real like atom bomb. Try to explain that pick. And I'm a Penix guy through and through. But I'm stunned. What are the fucking Falcons thinking?
You just paid $160 million to.
They just paid $180.
They're in the heart. First of all, they're in the heart of college football land. Georgia is way more in the consciousness of the fans there, and the Atlanta Braves, and every team is more in the consciousness than the Falcons. So I think they're looking for a new face of the franchise. They're trying to cover themselves at quarterback. It's kind of a hedge on Cousins. I don't know if I'm Cousins. I don't know if I love that. But I think it's a big marketing thing for the Falcons. They'll be able to market Michael Penix. Michael Penix will excite that area.
Larry, no. The whole point was we have Kirk Cousins now. There we
Yeah,
go.
but
The first quarterback who
but
knows
they
how to
also
throw
you're
football
also
is
in
Matt Ryan, and then, like Kirk
but
Cousins was
sports
supposed to be the
fans, you're
guy that
selling
was-
hope. You're selling the future. You're selling hope for the
That's what Kirk
future.
Cousins was supposed to be.
He's
Now
35 years old. There's
Kirk
no
Cousins
no
is he's
But you
35
signed him
years
for
old. Hold on.
4
They just
years.
a 4-year
30
deal. There's
yeah,
an
but
out
he's
after
an older
2.
player.
He's got all this upfront money. Kirk Cousins has been sabotaged by the Falcons. He's the least popular quarterback in his own room when he was brought in to save the room. That doesn't make sense. Michael Penix Jr. will be 28 years old when Cousins' deal is over.
I know.
I think
that
I
part
think
of it doesn't
I think
really
it's a
make sense.
2-year deal for Cousins, and they'll move off of Cousins after 2 years. And Penix, they're hoping Penix can learn the NFL game.
But
under Cousins.
Penix is going to be he's going to the future and the hope and this new era, and it will excite the Falcons fans. I think personally, I don't get it either because of the age factor and the way the whole thing's set up with Kirk Cousins being there. But I do love Michael Penix.
I mean, you just might as well cut Kirk Cousins right now. You shouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins.
I know. In a way, maybe.
Pretty strange.
You don't draft Penix after you make the Cousins investment. You don't draft Penix after you make that investment. You've undercut the end of Kirk Cousins' career, which you brought in to save your franchise, and you are now retarding the beginning of Michael Penix's career, who needs to go right in and play at the beginning of his career. So it does not make sense. The Atlanta Falcons are the Atlanta Falcons. Never forget that.
Well, we'll see if Penix becomes the next Mahomes, then, and wins there. I think he's special. I like Penix a lot. So we'll see. I can't say condemn. I can't say that I love Michael Penix and then condemn the team that winds up with him. But I will say this. I thought just watching some of the film of the prospects, man, J.C. Latham just looks so freaking dominating. And he went to Tennessee. That's got to help Tennessee. I mean, my goodness, he just looked so crazy. I thought the Giants getting Malik Neighbors was a great pick. I thought that, the Bears, getting Roma Dunze, obviously, and Caleb Williams, we're going to find out real quick, if they're the next great power duo in the NFC. Minnesota traded up for JJ McCarthy. Thought that was kind of interesting. Jets did not go with Brock Bowers. Instead went with Olu Fashanu, the big offensive tackle from Penn State. I thought Denver kind of reached for Bo Nix. Mm-hmm. I thought the Saints got a great deal by getting Talieisi Fuaga, where they did at 14. So interesting. I mean, it was, to me, kind of an interesting day one. Dallas Turner kind of took the big fall. Minnesota got him by trading up with Jacksonville. So Minnesota got a quarterback and Dallas Turner.
Since he got Robinson going 21 to Miami.
That was interesting.
A lot of people had Chop to the Niners.
Yeah, and they lost Christian Wilkins up front. So, man, they're redoing their entire front. Chop's not Wilkins as far as an interior guy, but they need as much pass rush as possible. I would say the big winners would be Philly getting Quinyon Mitchell without having to trade up, because there was a talk this morning that Philly wanted to trade up, and their secondary was really bad last year, and Mitchell is one of the best prospects in this draft. Super productive, super great tester. So for them to get him at 22, I thought was absolutely phenomenal. That was a phenomenal get by the Eagles.
By the way, James Foster dropping $2 on the show just based on the Kool-Aid comment. Thank you very much, James.
There you go. We also have this one.
Ayuk for pick 33 and draft Cooper DeJean. It's from Raj Singh.
And then that's what I threw out earlier.
Pearsall, and then lean on Ricky Pearsall.
Look, I think Ayuk's back. I think Ayuk's back.
Was that for Ayuk? Did that say Ayuk or Debo?
Ayuk.
Oh, there's no way you can't trade. You cannot trade Ayuk. There's no way. Not now that the first round is over.
Well, that's the thing, though. Ayuk might not have been able to fetch a first rounder.
I think he could. I think.
Well, and also, wait a second. I mean, you tell me if Washington calls tomorrow at the beginning of round 2 and says we'll give you 36 and 40 for Ayuk, the Niners are going to say no because it's not a first round pick.
I think they're doing a deal.
What's that? I would think they would do that deal.
36 and 40. I mean, that's two guys.
Yeah, well,
that
that's
you
what I'm
pick
saying.
up. Yeah.
You know, there are teams that have multiple picks that could want Brandon Ayuk. I don't know. I mean, maybe Lynch shut it down tonight. I don't know. I haven't looked on Twitter to see if Lynch, said, "Hey, you know what? Brandon Ayuk is going to be here."
How does that dead cap affect them if they were to trade Debo, the $40 million dead cap?
The team that trades for him would have to take on that $40 million.
But does
So
it
that's why
affect
you're
the
not going to
Niners?
get much.
Does it affect the Niners, though?
Yeah, the Niners have a dead cap penalty too, I think, but I'm not sure of what it is.
Okay.
But the team that trades for him has to take on a $40 million commitment over the next 2 years. We got this one as well here.
Martini Me Coagicol, again, another name that's all over the place there. They can afford Debo's big cap if they extend Brandon Ayuk's contract after Debo's trade. With the new contract, BA's cap hit would be very small.
Right. They can take his cap hit from like 14.4 and cut it down by like $8 million, something like that, if they redo the deal. So there is that option. And Lynch referenced the fact that he doesn't want the thing to drag into training camp and like Bosa's and Debo's did. Doesn't mean it's going to get done tomorrow. We got another one here from John Mango. What is Johnny?
CJ Stroud on Bleacher Report loves the pick, called him Slick Rick, and wanted him on the Texans. Gave the pick an A grade.
Well, there you go.
There you go. CJ Stroud loves the pick.
CJ Stroud loves the pick. And CJ Stroud is the most popular guy in the league right now.
Space Cowboy in at 2 Bones saying Pearsall's highlights don't have yak yards after catch.
Now,
I've seen some. And I've seen a lot of reverses that they used with him at Florida.
To me, he's a middle of the field monster who is going to catch it in small windows in the middle of the field. He'll take those hits and he'll hold on. He's a chain mover. He's a continuity piece. He's the guy that you really love on 3rd and 6 when you're looking to convert to put the game away. And he runs a little 7-yard, in cutter, and Brock throws it with timing. And they talked about it in the huddle, and it's super unstoppable. But what he's not going to be that. He's not going to be Ayuk. He's not going to be a dynamic guy. And he was a first-round draft choice.
Another draft summary on him says, keen ability to patrol the middle of the field, despite some limitations in his deep speed. His prowess in making contested catches and executing intricate routes compensates for his lack of elite breakaway speed. Pearsall's value lies in his playmaking through savvy route running. In the draft, he projects as a solid day 2 or day 3 pick. His ceiling might not be sky high due to a lack of explosiveness, but his knack for the spectacular catches and adaptability, including in special teams, make him a valuable asset. His fit seems optimal as a slot receiver for an 11 personnel setup where the route running acumen can be fully leveraged. The key for Pearsall at the next level is to bolster his play against press coverage and enhance his physicality. His route running is top notch, but his ability to handle contact at the line and mid route needs refinement. With improvements in these areas, Pearsall could evolve into a consistent and crafty receiver capable of making an impact in the NFL in a complementary role.
Right. That's the key phrase. He's a complementary receiver that you took in the first round. Now, I think he's a good complementary receiver, but he's a complementary receiver that you took in the first round.
I think they could have done what Damon said, traded back, got another pick, and picked him up at 40, 38 to 40, moved back, got that pick, and then maybe got
I think they could have drafted a center that would have started a decade for him.
Yeah. But here's the other thing too. The draft is,
and they still might.
The draft is a weird thing. It's like sometimes you'll take guys early and you'll miss, and then other times you'll get. I mean, look, Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. I mean, it's as simple as that. Sometimes your Mr. Irrelevant is your star. Sometimes your star is your bust. The Niners do not have a good track record at all under this regime at hitting on their first round draft choices. They don't.
Right.
It's not an opinion, it's a fact.
The guy you didn't want him to pick, the tackle, the reach.
Jordan Morgan from Arizona? No,
not him. The kid from Washington.
Roger Rosengarten?
Yeah.
I watched the national championship
up as a center? Could he be the center?
He's a tackle. He's
He
a
can't
tackle.
be converted in interior inside.
Well, I mean, he might be able to play interior, but I mean, he's a long-bodied tackle. He's an offensive tackle. Now he got destroyed in the Natty by Michigan, and in the second half he really got destroyed. So that was the last time I saw him. I'm just not a big fan of that. There's like this second tier of tackles: Jordan Morgan, Roger Rosengarten, two or three other guys, Kingsley Sumatea, the guy Paul from Houston. And I just think that they're not, I think they're going to be overdrafted. I think they're kind of overvalued. To me, there was 5 or 6 really good tackles, and then there was a big drop off. But then there's some other interesting guys at tackle, like Javon Foster and Garrett Greenfield and Walter Rouse and Caden Wallace and Ladarius Henderson. And these guys, the guys, I think Smith, or what's the, forget his first name, but from University of Texas, who had a great Mobile, great Senior Bowl. I mean, there's another level of tackles in this draft that are going to be slated to go anywhere between the late second to the top of the fourth that I think are really, really, as good at, Blake Fisher from Notre Dame. I really like him quite a bit. There's a whole other group there that I think's better than this next tier. So I like the fact the Niners didn't overreach for an offensive tackle when there wasn't one there. But how do you not take Zach Frazier and start your draft by building, out the best center? Now, maybe they'll get him in round 2. Maybe they'll bolster their line in round 2. But yeah, I was a little surprised they took a complimentary wide receiver.
And look, this is how it also works. Zach Frazier might suck. Who knows?
Right.
I was just kind of surprised they didn't trade up into the 20s, early 20s, because they have so many picks, extra picks, and they already, pick just, one of the corners, that the Eagles got, or the kid from Alabama.
How are they getting there?
Oh, I think they could have traded up, and because Lynch has already said they're not crazy about the back end of the draft because so many of the players they were interested in went back to college. So they've got these late picks. Why not throw them in a deal to move up 5 to 7 spots?
I think it's hard to move up into the first round for that, but I could see them taking day 3 picks and trying to move up into the 3rd or 4th.
The only thing about the combo picks thing, you're assuming, it's like, well, they have 10 picks, but they don't have 10 needs. Yeah, but who's to say you're going to bat 100%? I mean, you're going to draft somebody who just either gets broken or isn't very good or whatever. So there's a failure rate. So to me, it's like if you want 3 guests on a radio show, do you call 3 people? No, you probably have to call 5 or 6 people, right? If you want to make sure that the show's booked. And the same kind of thing with the draft.
Larry, people wanted to talk to me.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? It's like if you're a booking producer, you're going to have to call a few people to get, 3 spots filled. And if you're trying to fill 7 or 8 spots on a roster, you may need 12 picks because you may miss on a few. So, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody always says right up front, hey, you know what? You don't hit on every pick, but then if you have 10 picks, you're like, we don't need 10 players. Well, you're not going to hit on all 10 picks. You're going to hit on maybe 7 of 10 if you're lucky. So,
if you're lucky, yeah. So
to me, it's like, trying to move back and get a few more bites of the apple. You never know. Every second round pick could be Trace Jackson Davis or Draymond Green or Mo Cheeks or Gilbert Arenas. Every 7th round pick could be, Brock Purdy or Tom Brady, or, it's like there are Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, we've seen a lot of recent examples of really impactful guys who went late on day 3.
Yeah. And look, every player that we're, very excited about and think it'll be good and went in round 1 could totally bust out. And Ricky Pearsall is a Pro Bowler 3 years from now, and joke's on us. Who knows? Exactly. Who knows? Christian McCaffrey's dead. He's Ed McCaffrey 2.0. Who knows? But it feels like they reached. And it feels like they, again, got something that they might have wanted more than something that they needed. And I guess that's where the disappointment feel comes from this pick. It's got nothing to do with Ricky Pearsall. Like Ricky Pearsall has done nothing wrong here. But I wonder if the 49ers made the selection in round one to best address the single blind spot in the organization, which is winning a Super Bowl.
It's kind of a complimentary piece, but
Yeah.
they're inside their Super Bowl window. I'm fine with it, but they better get some meat and potatoes in the middle of this draft.
It just felt like to me when they made the pick, when I heard, Ricky Pearsall versus one of the other names that was, more first round grade, feels like there's something cooking. Like, I don't know what it is. It just seems like
it does seem like there's something cooking. I don't know what it is, but it does seem like they got something going, something brewing.
Yeah, just because it's like they picked him to fill a spot that, okay, and they've already got, they brought in Trent,
Trent Taylor.
Okay. And they may draft another receiver or two. They may draft Brandon Rice in the third, fourth round, who was
Caffrey's brother could be in the mix.
Yeah. So are they going to load up on, Lynch? A lot of times they'll load up on defensive linemen as they've done that, and then they stack it up, and then they trade off, other pieces.
Trade off the surplus.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, the numbers that I read seem to make it almost not possible to move off of Debo. And then I can't really picture them moving off of Ayuk, but they did go receiver here. And there are teams that have multiple high second round picks. One of them's Washington. I could definitely picture Washington having interest in Ayuk. Would the Niners take a couple second round picks? Maybe they could wind up getting a couple of those players that we're thinking that, if you get 36 and 40, you might be able to turn that into Zach Frazier and whatever. You could turn it into Zach Frazier and Michael Hall. Now you got a really good interior rusher at defensive tackle. You've got a plug and play starter at center, and you still have your own second round pick as well as a pick in the third round and 3 picks in the fourth round. So, it makes you wonder because it is a receiver and they are relatively deep at receiver. If all their guys are coming back, is somebody not coming back?
That's what it felt like to me. That's what it made me feel like, because you already got Conley, you got Bell, you brought in Trent Taylor, you got Danny Gray, who's questionable whether he makes a team. Bell's questionable whether he makes a team. But
it's a deep receiver draft.
Yeah, it's a deep receiver draft. You got, Adonai Mitchell's still out there.
Look, there's 3 wide receivers on the 49ers that matter. That's it. You talk about these other guys. They're huge question marks and maybes, and then that's all they are. The wide receivers don't have a deep wide receiver room. Got a little bit deeper right here. Again, they added their 4th wide receiver today, maybe. They never run a 4 wide receiver set. I don't know if they had one of them last year, but for like a Hail Mary situation. So I just don't see any player at this position being the guy who even hits the field very much next year. And that's not what I envisioned for the first round pick. Now, maybe I'm wrong.
This guy's comment right here, BS Wintech. Slick Rick will be the 49ers number 2 receiver for the next 7 years. I'm not just saying this because of his skin tone, but I got him compared to Adam Thielen.
Yeah, I've seen enough of this player to know that he's a good receiver. I just wonder about, can he separate? Can he stay healthy? Can he separate? Can he stay healthy? Is he a complementary piece or is he a foundation piece? I think there's production at the college level to make you think that this guy can be a major contributor right away, which I think that's kind of exciting. But and I think he's more effective than anything, but I still see complimentary receiver. I don't, and we're talking about a first round draft choice. I think he's a very good complimentary receiver. But I got to see some other pieces. This team, needs a linebacker, a defensive tackle, a defensive end, 2 safeties,
Yeah.
a corner, 3 offensive linemen. This team has got some serious needs, and this seems to be kind of like the finishing piece to the puzzle when there's many more pieces that need to be added. That's how I can see
West
it.
Bay Niner talk.
Yeah.
Don't you guys think the 49ers have drafted JPJ, arguably the most at important position, according to Kyle, or even a cornerback because of Ward and Lenore?
Yeah, I would have thought they would have gone corner. I was thinking maybe TJ Tampa, Max Melton, maybe Kool-Aid. I was surprised, really surprised. Now, I will say this. I love Willie Drew on day 3. There's 4 or 5 different corners that I really, I think this is a very deep corner class. So I think they can find more quality corners throughout this weekend. But as far as a number 1 guy, I was looking for that number 1 type corner. I thought Melton could have been a perfect piece. Now he was projected to go in the middle of the second round, but so was Ricky Pearsall. So, it's like, but I was hoping for Max Melton. I was hoping for Zach Frazier. I was hoping for Michael Hall or Ruka Rororo. And instead we got kind of a complimentary wide receiver, but he is a productive player. I will say that. And it's like, I would have been really upset if they had gone for some combine warrior who couldn't play at all. Or some of those secondary tackles I thought really couldn't play. I'm glad they went in this direction instead of that direction. Let's hit this one as well.
Brock Purdy the Great. Did you see CJ Stroud's reaction to the pick?
Yes, he loves it. He loves it.
Pearsall might catch 100 balls. 7-11. Always open. Dude, Brandon Ayuk's not even in the neighborhood of 100 balls.
Frank Tom Ocean.
This is a Purdy pick. High school friends from Arizona.
Is that true?
He is from
That's
Arizona.
Interesting. That's interesting. Well, I will say this. Purdy to this guy could be relatively prolific because of Brock's accuracy and this guy's ball skills. When you can take great accuracy and combine them with ball skills and catch radius, that's dangerous. That's like Tom Brady throwing to Randy Moss that one year, and it's like, wow, Tom Brady keeps putting it right on Randy Moss's hands, and Randy can catch it 10 feet in the air and off the grass. And it's like you look up at the end of the year and you're like, wow, it seems like they're playing pitch and catch, and it's really easy. Yeah, because you got a quarterback who's accurate and a receiver with good ball skills and a big catch radius. It's like I'm not saying that this kid's Randy Moss or that Purdy's Brady, but that is a great combo. The accurate quarterback going, throwing to the receiver with the huge radius with the great ball skills. That generally adds up to very, very good production. So,
not a super chat, but TJ Turner in the chat says, the Bills are at 33. They moved back twice. They got more picks to maybe put something together to make a huge offer for Brandon Ayuk or Debo. Probably not Debo, but maybe Brandon Ayuk. The Bills have no wide receiver I can see this happening, he writes.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about the Bills moving back. It's
well, what do they have? What do they have for picks? What's their arsenal? Can you look up the Bills picks and see what they got? Because the Bills don't have a lot of options. And, the 49ers, nothing changes the fact that the 49ers probably can't afford to pay Brandon Ayuk $30 million.
So the Bills pick, they're on the clock right now, technically. They're the first pick of the second round. They pick at 33. They also, in the first round, pick at 28.
No, they traded that back.
They traded that. Yeah.
They traded that.
No, so I'm saying, so they pick at 33rd overall pick, and then they pick at 60th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now here's Michael Silver.
Would you take those picks? Would you take 33 and 60 for Ayuk?
I might want someone on your roster too.
Yeah.
Or I might want a future third next year, something like that.
Here's what Michael Silver's reporting. Based on
based
on my conversations with other teams, the 49ers are now more likely to deal Debo Samuel than they are Brandon Ayuk. Stay tuned.
Wow. Well, if they could get anything of substance for Debo, that's the right route to go. Right?
Also, according to Brandon Ayuk, he texted John Lynch on the pick of Ricky Pearsall and said, love the pick. Fire. What did he say? Let me get. They're sitting there. Okay. Yeah. He said, fire pick. Can't lie. So he liked the pick. I don't know. I think they're working on something with Ayuk. Personally, I think
Sounds like Debo. Sounds like Debo.
I think they want to get Ayuk signed like early, like maybe right after the draft, and get him. Obviously the price has gone up with the signing of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now it's up to $30 million, but they can't afford that if they keep Debo. They just can't afford to pay Ayuk $30 million. So the only way they can afford to, if they want to keep Ayuk, is to move off of Debo.
Ayuk is the guy who's going to have the more productive career going forward than Debo.
Well,
Debo is a leader in the room.
Ayuk
for
is
sure.
the number one wide receiver. You can't make that argument for Debo Samuel. Debo Samuel found his value in this league by masquerading as a running back. And the minute that the 49ers stopped asking him to do that, the value to the team plummeted. So
Debo's played big in some big games and has, in some of their biggest games has been their most productive guy. At times in some of the biggest games, it feels like he's their number one guy, including Philadelphia this year. So I know what you're saying though. I mean, Ayuk's
Super Bowl, he vanished.
Ayuk's build is better for long term than Debo's build. And Debo has a big name. Like he's like a big celeb. So maybe there's teams out there that would give you a second round pick for Debo. Is that possible? Is it possible somebody would give you a second for Debo? Because if that's true, they maybe ought to explore that.
Would you take the 33rd pick from Buffalo and their 5th, who they picked up tonight by trading back? They picked up an extra. Yeah, they picked up an extra.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I think it might. Yeah, it might be just a straight one pick. Debo's probably only going to bring you one pick, where Ayuk might bring you 2.
Right. Ayuk might bring you 2 picks, but if if they, you can't keep everybody. You can't keep everybody. One of these receivers was for sure going to have to go.
Eventually, either this year or next year.
Yeah. Bottom line. I mean, you're paying your quarterback 50 times what you were paying him, what you paid him up to this point. So there's going to have to be some bloodletting on your roster. And who's the easiest to replace? Well, look at the way the NFL is right now. It's like there's receivers galore. There's good receivers. Like Tyler Boyd is a damn good receiver. Now he's not as good as Debo or as good as Ayuk, but he's very good. And he's still a free agent. He's out there. You could sign him.
You just drafted Ricky Pearsall, brother. You don't need
I'm just saying there's receivers everywhere. I love 5 or 6 receivers on day 3 of this draft. There's a lot of good receivers in this draft. There's a lot of good receivers in free agency. My point is that if you're going to try to clear off $50 million for cap rooms for because of Purdy, the receivers are the guys that are the easiest to move off of.
Here's another catch with the Ayuk situation. Ayuk and Pearsall played together at ASU. So there's
this guy's was at ASU that long ago?
He was there. That was his first stop. He played there 3 years. And
wow.
Then he was a 5-year college player, 3 years at Arizona State, 2 years at Florida.
So
he had an overlap by a year. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 1 year, I think. The last year of Ayuk.
Maybe they're buddies.
So there's that connection there. Maybe I just feel like they're going to move off of Debo tomorrow. It's just my gut, but I may be wrong. Probably am. Wouldn't be the first. But
I actually think that there may be something cooking with the Commanders, because otherwise, why would the LSU kid who went to Washington and Debo, why would they be, hey, there's going to be fireworks in 5 days? It's like, I think that, the Commanders definitely have the arsenal to get Deebo Samuel or to get Brandon Ayuk from the Niners. So what were the fireworks that Daniels and Ayuk were talking about? Something tells me those guys want to play together, and something tells me that the Commanders could put together an offer that would be very attractive for the 49ers coming back. And
hopefully
still,
they do it overnight, Larry, and we'll have a little breaking news on Wake Up right at 8:45 a.m. on the West Coast, and we'll be able to go with how the second and third round set up on day 2 for the 49ers. I know that we're going to be at the Dubliner and West Portal together. Dan, if you can drive on up, we'll see you at the first beers on me at the West Portal, buddy.
Dan, I'll buy everything, every drink you have, everything you eat. It's all on me tomorrow. Can you make it?
Yes, sure.
I'll throw my credit card down and just you bring. You want to bring Steve. You want to bring Los. You want to bring. I don't know about Bora, but you can bring everybody else.
Bring
it's
the
all
whole
on.
crew.
We'll put it all down on the Krug card. Can you make it?
Tomorrow it'll be a little tough.
Oh, damn.
It's a 12-hour drive, and I'm probably a flight would.
Well, I'm a very generous guy, though, as you can tell.
Yes.
Hey, if you get in your car now, you'll be there on time, Dan. I mean, you really will. Larry, we got an early
couple more supers here.
Let's finish with a few more supers, and then
do we read this one yet?
This is a Purdy pick. High school friends from Arizona.
Okay,
Frank
now we get
Tom Ocean. I'm old Greg. To be honest, the draft is a crapshoot. This guy might be amazing or might be nothing. Every year, players over or under hyped. Do reviews really matter? Brock was a joke, and look at him now. And he's right. And somebody asked, I saw earlier, what grade would you give this? Anyone who tries to give a draft grade anything other than incomplete until we watch him play is a flaming douchebag.
Well, no, but I mean, if you've seen him play, then you can obviously give a grade.
You can have a good educated guess, but that's still all it is. And to assign a letter grade is if that's going to be how this contract, his skills play out.
It's such a crapshoot. He's right. We had 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, and history tells us 4 will be a bust.
Right.
So,
personally, if you said to me on the quarterback front, give me the 2 guys that are going to be successful and the 4 that aren't, I would go with Penix and Jaden Daniels as my successes. I think the other guys bust somehow. Who would you guys go with if you were going with 2 guys out of this group?
I definitely go Daniels as one of them. I like him a lot. And, Louis Riddick last year said, go with Stroud over Bryce Young. And he was right. This year he said, go with Daniels over Caleb Williams. I would pick. I don't know if any of them. It might only be one. I'm not even. I like Penix for the because he has such a solid arm. His thing is, can he stay healthy? If he stays healthy, he'll have a solid career.
If Penix can stay healthy, I like him an awful lot, and he does get to go sit behind Kirk Cousins. He's not just going to get thrown into the fire where these other guys will be. Again, Caleb Williams. I've been a Bears fan for an awful lot of the years of my life. I've never seen him have the number 1 pick. Never seen him spend it on a quarterback, and they've never had a good quarterback like in my life. Basically, I remember being very excited about Tom Willis. Caleb Williams, I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't like his lack of accountability that he was allowed to get away with at USC. And this might not, win me any favors with the PC police. Let me just tell you how Chicago works. It ain't the most politically correct town you're ever going to walk into. And the minute he shows up with a little blush or maybe frosted lips or painted nails, they're going to skin him fucking alive in Chicago. So he better be a phenomenal quarterback who puts his head down, works, and doesn't try to be cute about anything, because that does not play in the Midwest. So good luck, Caleb Williams. I will say this, for the first time in my life, the Chicago Bears prioritized offense in a draft. I mean, I like a quarterback and a wide receiver. So let's see what happens.
They surrounded him with some good players, but it's still the Bears, man. The Bears quarterbacks have been horrible my whole life. I mean, what? You had McMahon, and that's about
That's
it.
the list. Harbaugh for a minute, and that's the list. Tom Zach for a
McMahon.
minute, that's the
Tom Zach
list.
started 14-0.
Don't make me tell you about how excited I'm supposed to be about Craig Krenzel.
Cade McNown. Who
Uh,
what if he's not a, what if he winds up, what if it's the same story as the Niners and Caleb is a bust, but Tyson Bagent becomes great?
I'm in. Do it. I freaking dare you. He beat the Raiders.
Their receiver rooms is going to be pretty good, though. They got Keenan Allen now and Odunze.
Getting interesting.
And they got that
DJ Moore.
And Moore, and the tight end is pretty good.
Cole Kmet.
Kmet, yeah.
SG Sports Talk Channel. Larry, golf clap him.
There he is.
Become a member.
Chardall.
All right, Chardall, man. Hey, Chardall.
Become a member. Watch the Bills stack talent from these trades down. That's NFL, Niners for life. Yeah, and maybe they become a dance partner in the second round, maybe for the 49ers. Michael Jolly says Debo's usefulness ended when they traded for Christian McCaffrey. I wouldn't say his usefulness ended, but his role certainly changed, and the value to this team was with him basically being the second running back, and he was not used as that. And when he wasn't used as the second running back, he didn't really stand out as a primary receiver any longer. So that's the problem on Debo.
And the bottom line is, if you run through people, your career is going to be short. If you run around people, your career is going to be longer. He runs through people. And he takes hits, and we saw him kind of start to break, and I don't think he's going to be healthier in the future. I do think he's a dynamic guy, and I do think that he's a tone setter, and I do think they'll miss his fire. So I hope they can find a couple players that have that fire and that leadership if they do move Debo. But yeah, I mean, Pearsall, if you look at Pearsall and you say, what does he do? He makes plays in the short and intermediate areas of the field, in the middle of the field. And, he could be easily the Debo replacement. And they could move off of Debo tomorrow. I do get the sense that something significant is going to happen tomorrow. All right, that is going to.
I'm going to ask Damon one quick question on the Bears. Would you have rather had them keep Justin Fields and traded that first pick, maybe moved down to 4 or 5 somewhere, picked up one of the tackles and one of the better, and the receiver at 9?
Yeah. I mean, I thought that there was still a quarterback to be found in Fields if you wanted to. Eberflus, getting Luke Getsy out of there was key, but Eberflus remains. I mean, I would have gone full flush. I would have gone if you're taking a QB number 1 overall, I would have gotten a new coach to groom that QB more than I think Eberflus is the guy to do it. I'm all about trading back from 1. I think 1, for the most part in the NFL draft, is a sucker's play, and it's an overpay. So, yeah, I mean, I think trading back is a really good idea in a lot lot of cases. And
they had the quarterback. They had the young quarterback. He was getting. I mean, he's not as, I don't know. Maybe he's not as accurate as they'd like. But you're also, you brought in Keenan Allen. You have DJ Moore, and then if you drafted the receiver in Odunze, you have 3 weapons to throw to. And if you got Alt or Latham as your first pick around 4 or 5.
Yep.
Now you've got the tackle and the receivers.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, good luck. I mean, I do like the fact that they prioritized and at least they went about this with conviction. I'll give them that much. They made the choice to move on. They didn't get the value that I think they expected. Caleb Williams, this is your show now. Got him a number 1 wide receiver in Odunze. So we'll see. Teams better around him, played better football at the end of the year. He steps into a more decent situation than most number 1s step into. So we'll see. But, like everything in Chicago, throwing a football forward is always a challenge.
Yeah. That Central Division is maybe
no more questions, Dan. No more follow-up questions.
It may be the best division in football now, the NFC.
Yeah,
Central.
they're in a lot of trouble in the NFC Central. There's no doubt.
One last super before we bolt for the door. Slick Rick. Is that what he said there? Or
Slick Niner. Your eyes are bad right now, Larry.
Yeah,
AJ Brown went for a 1 and a 3. BA getting 2 2s and a 3. Well, you went away from it before I could finish reading it. BA for 2 2s and a 3 from Washington. Could happen.
Two
Could
twos
happen.
and a 3. And would you make that? If Washington called and said, we'll give you 2 2s and a 3, would you do it?
I mean, I'd rather have Brandon Ayuk above all, but if you're telling me the money can't work, then yes, I would do that.
Yeah, I would do it too. I would hope that they would get another receiver besides Ricky Pearsall. Otherwise, I think they're in a bad situation. But there are plenty of good receivers still out there, so there's a chance. There is a chance. All right, that's good.
They could have signed Blake Snell.
That's right. They could have. Giants play today, Danny.
No, they had the day.
They were
off.
dark.
Oh, so they lost. They didn't lose today.
They didn't lose.
Danny, I did see
By
you
the way,
said
here
that
comes
Jung Hoo
Joey.
Lee's going to win a batting title.
Here comes
I said it was someday, not this year.
Guys, here comes Joey Bart and all that is power. Did you see what Joey Bart's the start that he's off to with the Pittsburgh Pirates?
I love it.
The guy has bat speed. Yeah, I mean, why bring in Tom Murphy and get rid of that guy? Why didn't I just go with that guy as the backup? It was like, come on.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Oh, well, what can you say? All right, Danny, tell people the next time you're going live on NorCal Sports Network. By the way, people expecting Lo Neal tonight. Lo had a hard time getting in. He will be with us tomorrow.
Yeah,
Probably tomorrow evening after we hit our bar scene where we'll do a little live stream, and Lo Neal will jump in.
Nice.
I
Danny,
will be going
tell
live
people, tell people when you're going live.
Tomorrow night after the Giants game against the Pirates post game, somewhere probably around 9:45, 10 o'clock, NorCal Sports Network.
There you go. Check it out. Danny, good to see you. Have a great night. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you soon. There you go. The great Dan Coachemilio. And we will be turning this thing around with Wake Up bright and early tomorrow.
At 8:45, we'll see you there. Please like and subscribe to both of these channels. Larry and I will then be at the Dubliner on West Portal starting at 3, 4 o'clock, Larry? We're going to get around
Look a little bit like this, by the way, tomorrow. Just getting it ready. So there you go. Look at that.
There it is.
Look at that.
Look how quickly you metamorphose us.
Look at that. Oh, but wait,
there we are. Now I know who we are and what we're doing.
There you go. That's tomorrow.
By the way, I just had to look it up. Joey Bart's hitting 304 with 3 home runs and 8 RBI.
Got to get rid of that guy. Had to get rid of him.
All right.
Good stuff. But what do you overall, you got a final thought on this thing? I mean, we kind of talked it to death, but I will say this. It definitely, because it's a receiver, makes you really curious and want to see rounds 2 and 3 tomorrow.
Yeah.
If this had been, I mean, I've wanted Zach Frazier or Michael Hall, and I won't back off of that. And I don't love the fact that it's a complimentary receiver, though I do think I could see this guy helping them win games. But it does make tomorrow that much more juicy because it does seem like it's going to lead towards some other shoe to drop and some other significant move, and we're probably going to hear about it tomorrow afternoon.
Let's see what the draft class looks like.
Yeah, totally.
Looking at the very first pick the 49ers have made, I think it leaves everyone a touch underwhelmed. But what we think about this doesn't matter. Maybe this kid can play in the NFL, and he's a real good player, and we're going to be, laughing one day about how skeptical we were of the pick. Or he washes out and he hardly plays at all next year, in a year you're trying to win a Super Bowl. So who knows? Hopefully the truth is somewhere there in the middle, and he ends up being a really good player. I wish him good luck. Welcome to San Francisco, young man. You're on a good football team. Let's see what you got, and let's see what this team looks like tomorrow. Days 2 and 3 will be fascinating, and I know we're going to be all over it. Thanks as always, Larry. Good to talk to you, and good to see Dan. Good to see everyone.
Can we get that last super there? Can we get that last
play with us? Track record for most first-round picks will suck. Let's hope our pick doesn't. I'm old Greg. It's a good way to say it. Good way to wrap it up.
Good way to wrap it up. We'll see everybody tomorrow at 8:45. Chase Sr. is going to join me later in the morning, and then Damon and I are going to be hanging out in the late afternoon. Remember, the second and third round, I think, starts at 4 or 4:30. We're going to be at the Dubliner in West Portal. Stop by, have a drink or 5, and help us watch some football and talk some ball and
Lowry, I wrote down one name and I put it in an envelope.
I said Ricky Pearsall. I wrote it down in an envelope. I lost the envelope. And now I drafted somebody completely different because my short-term memory's not great. So I needed it written down in an envelope. I used to write it down in an envelope just to show off, kind of like I was Sonny Weaver from draft day. But now I actually need to write it down in an envelope because my mind is gone and I just can't remember who I was going to draft.
Pearsall or bust.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you